All right, it's good to be back in Blacksburg. Um, Obviously, we had a tough loss and a physical, tough football game. Tremendous amount of credit to Miami, pretty talented group there. Um, we've got to turn the page and get ready for Georgia Tech and all the challenges that brings. Obviously, the triple option and the way they play defensively and in special teams, all that sort of stuff. And we were a little bit off schedule yesterday, obviously, with the travel and everything. So we let the kids. We got to the facility at 3 in the afternoon yesterday. So we let the kids get a quick lift and some treatment and sent them home. So we didn't actually meet as a team. I mean, I just felt like with everything that went into that travel, that them getting some rest and all that sort of stuff. And we usually practice on Sunday, so hopefully they get some rest and get ready, because it's going to be a tough one this week. Tremendous challenge. And we'll need great leadership and a great week of preparation as we prepare for this one.
I think we all have a pretty good grasp on the fact that Georgia Tech's different. You need all the prep time you can get to get ready for the option of the dive and all that kind of stuff. What does yesterday do to that plan? I mean, it's like you said, you gave them the day off because the trip and all that. And I know, are you going to try to practice today, or do class schedules kind of conflict with that? How does that sort of cramp the plans?
Well, yeah. Well, technically, yesterday wasn't off for them. We just, by the time we got back and everything. So, usually on our Sunday practice, we hit a lot of fundamentals in terms of special teams drill work. We hit some 7-on-7, good versus good, with a focus on like 2-minute drill and that sort of stuff. And then we usually do a little bit of prep for the upcoming week. I talked to the coordinators about it when we were sitting wherever we were waiting. There's a small element of stuff that we didn't hit that we would have usually hit on a normal Sunday. But hopefully this time in the season, this late in the season, with some of our veteran guys, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, hopefully we can kind of overcome that. I certainly will not use that as an issue or an excuse moving forward. It's just, as the head coach, you got to weigh the goods and the bad, and that's what we do all the time, every single week, trying to figure out the best way to get your team knowing what to do and feeling good. And because of all that stuff, I feel like that's the best way to do it.
I know you have so much to get done in August during camp and all that. Bud has talked in the past about devoting maybe a little bit of time to working on this stuff and getting a head start. Did you do some of that in August?
Well, we allocate some of that time. If they want to use it, if Bud wants to use it, then that's great. I think there's always good to hit elements of that throughout the year, whether it's in spring or in fall camp, to kind of rehash the assignments and all that sort of stuff.
Georgia Tech's had some close losses this year. They played in some bad weather, which probably doesn't help an option team. Does this look like Georgia Tech teams of the past, or at least what you were used to last year?
Well, from what I've seen, it does. I think they're, when you look at what they do offensively in terms of running the triple option and having plays off of plays. I mean, you just watched the Virginia game last week, and the first play of the second half, they kind of catch them over rotating, and they're out the back door for a big, huge play. You watch them 10 plays later run a play action off of that same deal. It ended up being an interception, but they had a guy running wide open down the middle of the field. I mean, they look like what I've always envisioned a really well-coached, tough triple option team to be. Defensively, they continue to mix up their looks and give people problems. They play fewer snaps defensively, just in general terms, because of their offense. You turn the Wake Forest film on Wake Forest's offense versus Georgia Tech's defense, and their first possession is like 6 minutes and 30 some odd seconds left in the first quarter. I mean, where did the whole first quarter go? Well, Georgia Tech had the ball, and it's 3-0, but there's 6 minutes left in the first quarter. So they do a great job. I mean, in terms of the type of game you're going to play in, you know what you're going to get. And they seem to be very well coached and playing hard, and they have lost a couple close games. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I've seen us lose 2 games to 2 really, really good football teams, and Miami and Clemson. And I watched Georgia Tech darn near beat Miami. So it's going to be a heck of a challenge.
I know that winning those one-on-one battles on the outside was one of the biggest things you were worried about on Saturday. Outside of those guys just winning those battles, what can you do as coaches to maybe help schematically free them up?
Well, we do quite a few things in terms of trying to handle man coverage. I mean, we have some scheme things that we do. We got quite a bit of cover 3 last week, which those things don't work into that. So we'll continue to try and find a way to handle leverages and handle scheme to try and get our guys the ball, and hopefully get the ball delivered accurately and quickly.
Coach, you said your offensive line was on alert after the game against UNC. Are they back on alert after Saturday night's game? And are you looking at any changes at all? Or
No, well, they played their hearts out. I wasn't happy with. I said the offensive line. I said the entire offense after the North Carolina game. So, I mean, I just wasn't happy with the way that we played in terms of our intensity and toughness in the North Carolina game. And they have responded 2 weeks in a row. Now, 1 week we won and 1 week we didn't win. So, but those kids know that the level of play in terms of I always stop short of the word effort because I don't want to imply they aren't trying. Okay? But in terms of level of toughness and enthusiasm that we have to play with, and they've done that 2 weeks in a row.
Hey, Coach, I'm just curious about what your message is to the guys this week. Obviously, tough road loss, long trip home, not a conference title to play for now. How do you kind of motivate them and get them ready to play? How do you avoid kind of
Well,
like that?
usually when we have this press conference, I've already delivered part of that, so I would like for them to hear it from me first. I think just in general terms, there's a lot for us to play for. I mean, we have a chance to, be when you just look at numbers and all that sort of stuff, but just not even focused numbers. I mean, we play football at Virginia Tech, a school that loves and supports its football program. We have an opportunity to have a very accomplished season, play in a better bowl game, send our seniors out the right way. We have a rivalry game several weeks from now. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. We're going to play a team that kicked our butt last year in our own stadium on Saturday. So I know it's disappointing when you want to achieve something and you come up short, but the mark of anyone, a true competitor or a person, whether it's football or life, is how you handle adversity, how you respond to those things, how your leadership responds to those obstacles. And the only way to get feeling better is to go play better. And when you have disappointments, there's only one solution that I know of, whether it's football or life, and that's to roll your sleeves up and go back to work. And I'm optimistic about our guys, and our guys, that doesn't mean they're not disappointed. And they're disappointed and they had a long trip home and all those sort of things. I think it's good for them to get away for a little bit and come back tomorrow and be ready to get back to it.
Questions for Coach?
I think you mentioned last week that Parker Osterloh kind of came a long way back to get in. What was he sort of dealing with? And obviously he's sort of had issues throughout his whole career staying healthy like that to be on the field.
Yeah, the biggest thing was he was dealing with a back issue, and specifically I'm not sure I can explain it, but he just kind of crept up on him, and he missed a large portion if not all, I can't remember the exact dates of fall camp and the first, whatever it was, 4 or 5 or 6 weeks of the season. And, he really could have just hung it up and said, this is my last year. It's just too much to come back from, and he did not. He continued to work. He wanted to be with his team, and now he's found an opportunity to help us contribute on the field, and I'm awfully proud of him that it means that much to him. So kind of like what we're talking about, you not being in the Coastal Division race. What do you have to play for? I mean, that's just another great example of guys that genuinely enjoy this team, enjoy playing the game, know that they may have limited opportunities to continue to play this sport, and working hard to get back and try and play as well as you can.
I think on the radio show you described C.J. Carroll as sort of having a chronic foot thing. It seems like he's been doubtful for a while. Is that maybe something that has to be fixed after the season?
Well, Andy, I'm going to answer this the best I can. I'm not really sure. I mean, it has been fixed once, and it's just something he's continuing to deal with. He'll come out and practice for a little bit and then not continue to practice anymore, not be able to continue through. And again, I mean, I've proved many times that I'm not a doctor, but I just don't know what the next step is. He's trying to manage it. He wants to be a part of the team, or he is a part of the team, but he wants to participate. He wants to play, and he's just trying to get healthy enough to get out there and go. It's similar to what he had last year, but it's been fixed, but it's still causing him issues. And I know I'm speaking in general terms mostly because I don't really understand exactly what it is. I know he wants to play, and he comes out there and practices for a little bit, and then it fatigues, and then he just can't continue to get better. So, again, this week we'll see how he feels and how he does, and if he's like cleared, but it's just gonna kind of have to see, I guess.
I know Dulius seems like he's played in the first half. That one game got hurt. Would he be eligible for a medical if he can't come back?
Yeah, we're on the. I should have brought Goforth in here to explain all these to you. But there's probably as much information as I've ever given you all on all this stuff. But so Drake, yes, to answer your question, I do believe we'll be able to get a red shirt. He played in the Boston College game and pulled his hamstring in the bye week, and then worked hard to get back, and then re-injured it. So it's one of those deals. Like we were preparing to move forward with him playing a role in what we're doing, and he's pretty frustrated and upset about it, and we're just trying to get him back.
Coach, first of all, I do appreciate your time, and I got to ask you. You mentioned earlier about how Georgia Tech and how with their offense they run, they limit the possessions. From an offensive standpoint for Virginia Tech, do you feel like you have to call the game a little bit differently, or how do you look at that?
Well, I think it's important that you're efficient. I really do, and I know that's probably an overused term, but your opportunities are going to be limited. I'll never forget, this is not a triple option team, but I'll never forget this. I may have told you all this before, but when I was at TCU, we played Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl, and we were up in a low-scoring game, but in the second quarter, we ran 3 plays. And we ended up winning the football game, but the pressure I felt as the play caller when we did finally get the ball back to be efficient on first down was something I had never really felt before in that game. And that's an extreme case. Like they scored or they faked a punt and whatever it was, but we went 3 and out on one possession. In the second quarter, we ran 3 plays. And just that feeling of you never know when you're going to get it back and how important it is when your defense has been on the field trying to stop these guys for a long time. I mean, that creates some pressure. So it's a similar type instance where you've got to do a really good job of being efficient to help the football team out, knowing that you're going to get fewer opportunities.
Hoping to keep the momentum going with the injury talk there. But I wanted to get you when you're
Yeah. You should go to Vegas. You're hot right now.
Right? Broke the streak. Adonis, and I know I only asked this question because it was a unique trip back. You're trying to get treatment for a guy who's dealing with something like that. How do you deal with that on a bus and the plane and waiting on the tarmac and all that? Kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, there's just not a lot you can do, quite honestly. You try and get him back and get him into treatment. I mean, there's just really not much you can do sitting on a plane. Pretty limited.
In pain, I'm sure, like dealing with the thing, or is it just kind of stay off it, ice it? That's not
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much pain he's in. I just, I mean, we weren't doing anything for a large period of time, so I guess that's good, but he wasn't moving around much.
Anybody else for Coach?
Coach, you guys have had some slow offensive starts. You didn't have any points this week. Are you concerned at all about your first quarter for your offense at least, or?
Well, would I like to score more in the first quarter? You bet. I mean, I just go back to this, whether it's the first quarter or the fourth quarter or whatever. I mean, we know what we are and how it's going to have to be for us to have success. And, I mean, it's going to be it's just going to be hard, I mean, things are going to be difficult. It's just we're not as explosive a football team as we were last year, and points will be harder to come by, whether they're in the first quarter or the second quarter. I think part of that is because things have to be pretty perfect for us to have success right now. And in the first quarter, teams play you slightly different than they have other teams throughout the week. You got to try and get a handle on it. And when you're better or more established or older, then those things don't matter as much because you can kind of overcome them with experience and talent. And right now, we're not there yet. So.
Anybody else? All right. Thank you, everybody.
Good.
We'll have,
You bet.
coaches and student athletes tomorrow.